Well, I said it before we played Vermont that we were playing a team that wouldn't be fazed by coming in a big arena and playing against a Power 5, Power 6 conference type team. And they proved that. I thought our team for the first 32 minutes played as well as we have all year against a really good team. And certainly didn't hurt that, Lamb was in foul trouble. But part of the way we play is to put fouls on the opponents and get the ball into the paint. And he was a casualty because of that. So I give our guys credit for, putting him in that position. I take a lot of the blame for the last 7-8 minutes, in our quest to put in a lot of different things in such a short period of time, at least from where I sit, 6 months. Whether it's our system on both ends of the floor, we haven't done as much as we need to do in time and score situations, in dealing with post traps. And give Vermont credit, they handled being down like a veteran team. They didn't quit. They found a way to rattle us a little bit. Disappointed because we had 4 or 5 turnovers with about 5-6 minutes to go, and we end up with 10. But like I said before, you can always take things if you're a mature team and learn from them in wins, and you should. So hopefully our team does that. But I have a lot of respect for John, his team, how they play together, how they play the game. But I love our team, and I think we're going to continue to get better.
Coach, in the first half, I believe at the under-8 timeout, Vermont was shooting, I believe, 60% from the field, 70% from 3. But it seemed like you guys were playing good defense. What was your message to keep the guys continuing to execute and play when the team is just shooting lights out like that? Coach
Mike, who had the scout tonight, he said it. He said it, 5-10 times leading up to the game. But, Anthony Lamb's going to hit some shots. He's going to hit some tough ones. He can just really use his body. He scores. He's a tough mismatch. And you just have to make sure that he's earning what he gets. You can't go for a shot fake. You can't leave your feet and have him step through and get an uncontested layup. We can't miss him in transition. If we switch a ball screen, we have to make sure that there's a man matched up on either guy. And I thought for the most part we were doing that. A couple of the shots that Lamb hit in the first half, that's what good players can do. And, the one right in front of me, I don't even know how it hit the rim, let alone it didn't hit the rim. It went all the way through the net without touching the rim. You give him credit. He's a big-time player. And good teams and good players can do that too.
Coach, against Nichols, you guys allowed them to get back into it late. And tonight, you guys had a 22-point lead at one point. How concerned are you guys about closing out games late?
Not. It's basketball. You didn't mention the game in between when we played Southern. It's just part of basketball. Good teams make runs. We're a work in progress like every team in November. I don't say that because I'm down on our guys. It's just reality. We're going to be a heck of a lot better in December. We're going to be a heck of a lot better in January. And we're going to need to be as you look at our schedule. But my concern is I just have to educate our guys on what we need to do when we get post-trap, because if Steve plays the way he did, he's going to see a lot of that. And that's my job, put those guys in the right position, and we'll handle end of games better.
Coach, did you guys think that you could get Lamb into foul trouble specifically, and how do you think it impacted the game? Because it seemed like they were really settling for jump shots with him out.
When he's out, they're a different team. A lot of times they start running the Duncan brothers off screens, Steph Smith off screens, where when Anthony Lamb's in the game, they catch it at the elbow, they do the old pinch post and really put you in a bind. He fakes the handoff, looks like Vlade Divac out there. But I think that if you go into the game saying, hey, we're going to try to get a certain guy in foul trouble, he'll end the game with 0 fouls, and it's to no avail. So there were some things that we wanted to expose, and I thought we did that. And we drove the ball when we got good reversals on players that we felt like weren't quicker than our guys. We got the ball into Steven, and he produced until they started trapping. So we got the ball where we wanted on offense. We scored enough points to beat any team in the country. Now we got to get better on the defensive end and ending games.
Coach, if you could just talk about Darius Perry. He started out the game and got you guys off to a good start, and he closed the game and had some big shots down the stretch when they started to get it close.
He's dynamic. He's He's probably our most explosive perimeter player with his quickness, his ability to shoot the ball. Again, Darius, he's a guy that I really have to take under my wing and our wing and teach him how to end games. And although he made a few plays down the stretch where, he finishes in transition, I'd rather him pull it out and run clock. And in that type of situation, almost got the ball stolen from behind. So, Darius is such a playmaker for our team, and he needs to be. And he needs to be a defensive stopper for us on the other end, and he's more than capable of that. He is growing up. I mean, I knew, he's a freshman last year, so he's gotten a whole lot better from last year, and I just think there's so much more we can get from Darius, and we will get over time.
Anything else for Coach? Here, one. You got a mic.
I realize you're transitioning to a new job, you're inheriting a team. How much do you find yourself in teaching moments, like when you pulled Darius aside today? How much of that has happened so far this year, and how is that different than maybe teams like the one you had last year where
yeah, I mean, veteran? It's just natural. I've only coached him in 5 games, I guess, if you count the 2 exhibition games. And so, learning me, learning what I value. Believe me, we're trying to infiltrate their minds and practice with all that stuff. But there's nothing like game conditions and game situations. Like we fouled now, I think 3 3-point shooters in 3 games, and we have to learn from those type of moments. And like that's not acceptable to me, and we have to rectify. That's just one of 1,000 things. But I find myself doing that a lot. But I'd also be lying to say that, last year I just sort of sat there on the scorer's table and watched our guys play too. I think that's what your job is as a coach, is to always teach. And I try not to be just a history coach that just says you shouldn't have done that and you shouldn't have done this. I got to try to put them in positions before it happens.
Chris, there was I think the beginning of the second half, I want to say Steven scored the first 10 points for you guys, and he did it in a variety of ways. I mean, generally in the first 2 games, he's been an on-the-block guy, but is that the way that you want him to grow?
He's a talent, and he'll get so much better dealing with double teams. If he's not double teamed, he's going to score on a lot of people. And as he keeps gaining game experience after sitting out a year, he's just going to keep getting more and more confident. And his teammates are learning how to feed the post so much better than we did 4 or 5 weeks ago. So to answer your question, I told you in the very beginning, Steve isn't relegated to a 5-foot chain around the basket. I mean, he can make free throws, he can step out, and we need him to do that on both ends, because the game requires our 5s to be, not just defending a post player. He's got to step out and hedge ball screens. He's got to be able to switch. He's got to be on the perimeter some too, on the defensive end as well.
How did the ball movement tonight look to how you want it to be?
Well, I mean, again, I think anytime you score the amount of points that we did, and we got to the free throw line, I thought we were moving the ball. We got to the free throw line an awful lot, made our free throws. Again, when they started post trapping, it gave us problems. But prior to that, I don't know what our points per possession was, but it's as good as you're going to find around the country in terms of like getting the ball movement that we had, getting open shots that we had. I think we had 4 turnovers. I mean, that's, in my opinion, pretty efficient.
I'm sorry, Coach. Kansas seemed to struggle mightily with the 2-man game that Vermont was running. Was that something that you focused on? Was just on those, how to guard those hedges and how to defend that?
It's tough. Again, they're very coy. They're really smart. If you overplay, they backdoor. If you sag off, they pop back. If you try to whip underneath, that little handoff, and he pops back behind and shoots it. 2 guys run out at it, and they just hit him and roll. So they're crafty. And I think their coach does an amazing job of sort of playing chess. He sees who is on who, and that's part of the game that we have to play as well. But we did it well enough until the last 6-7 minutes, and I blame more of our offense than, quite honestly, our defense.
Nor had another good scoring game. Did he do the other things you wanted him to do tonight?
He's getting better. He's far from perfect. I think he's recognizing when he loses his man, when he doesn't stay on his feet. But, he's a big-time offensive talent. And again, my charge and my quest is to continue to get him better, not just defensively, but offensively as well. Being ball strong and, if he drives to the basket, not using that off arm and getting called for charges. But he can score the ball. We know that. His teammates recognize that. And Jordan continues to get better like most of our players.